Medical researchers are seeing the Pfizer BioNTech shot as the key to ending the COVID-19 pandemic. This follows promising results from a study involving 1 million people in Israel. Bloomberg's Rachel Chang reports.
What we're seeing outside in Israel is pretty much a validation of what we had hoped for in the clinical trials, and that's really important because, you know, in the real world, people behave differently. There are a lot more uncertainties compared to clinical trials, so the fact that these mRNA vaccines are showing to be as extraordinarily effective as hoped for is a really good sign. What's also incredibly important is they're not just almost preventing sickness and fatalities, but the vaccines are also preventing transmission of the virus, which was something that was not studied in the trial, so that remained a big uncertainty. But what we're seeing from Israel is that it did prevent the majority of infections as well, so that means it can actually halt the virus's spread and not just prevent death. So, you know, if this vaccine goes out around the world, that the pandemic will be stopped. The problem, of course, is that we don't have enough supply and a logistical ability to get that around the world.
And Rachel, J&J on its way to be approved in the U.S. It's cheering the markets today.
Right. So Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, which is the third one to be approved, that should be approved in the U.S., you know, is an example of how we need a variety of different kinds of vaccines to really neutralize the pandemic around the world. So J&J's vaccine is not as effective as the Pfizer one, but it's only a one-shot vaccine, which is really important in places, especially in the developing world, where it's very difficult to get people to come back on for the second shot. So these varieties of different vaccines that can be used in different contexts is what's going to help to end the pandemic.
As more COVID variants emerge globally, some manufacturers are now considering creating a third booster shot to further increase patients' immune responses. But will booster shots actually give additional benefits against COVID-19 and its variants? Senior scholar of Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, Gigi Gronval, discusses this on Bloomberg Surveillance.
So titer refers to your antibody levels. The antibodies are some of your immune responses to the vaccine. And we're used to measuring titers for other diseases. You know, you get your titers checked for tetanus or whatever to see if you need a booster shot. But that's not the only part of your immune system. And so what I think is the missing story with the variants and some of the fear surrounding them is that these vaccines are also stimulating T cells and other cells of your immune system that are a little more resilient to some of the variant changes. And so what I would encourage everyone to look at is the real world data, to not just, you know, see if the antibody titers are falling or the neutralization titers are falling, but to see if there's actually a real world difference, because thankfully everybody's immune system is a lot better armed than just the one lab assay can detect.
We are gaining confidence as a nation and frankly as a world. Bloomberg speaking with the World Health Organization leadership from Africa just moments ago, an hour ago or so. Dr. Gronval, do you have a building confidence in how we're moving forward? Or again, is there a real mystery?
Is there a mystery on the new variants? Well, we're starting to shine a light on the problem. And so before, I think if this was 10 years ago, we wouldn't know about any of these variants until a paper came out 2 years from now. So we are really getting much more on top of them. And maybe we could have been a little bit more proactive. But I think now, I think we're really starting to look for them. But people should be aware that now that we're starting to look for variants, we're probably going to find a lot more.
And that's the curse and the benefit of having more information. Dr. Gronval, based on the information that we've gotten out of Israel, an initial study being published showing that the vaccine was incredibly effective. I'm talking about the Pfizer BioNTech variation, and this idea that if everything goes according to what that study shows, that really would only take 60 to 70% of the population being inoculated to reach herd immunity. What's your take on that?
I think it's great news. I think as soon as you're offered a vaccine, you should take it, and I cannot wait to get mine. So yes, I think it's very encouraging. It's real world data that shows that vaccination works, and we knew that, but people should also know that other things really work too, like, you know, masks work, improving indoor ventilation, that works too, but until you can get vaccinated, make sure you take all those precautions.